they say how exactly in ancient India the mathematics was embedded into different literature. The second point is, what was the purpose of embedding mathematics in various kinds of literature, whether it is Vedas or ancient Indian sciences, or even medicine, whatever it might be. As we know that large amount of literature had to be transferred in the Maukika Parampara, that means from one generation to the other generation. So the ancients, they devised a methodology to embed mathematics into this literature so that there could be error detection and error correction. So that mathematically the literature was in such a way, they had lyrical beauty as well as mathematical precision. Next. Suppose we say that we have a quadratic equation. Immediately the people will say a squared plus bh plus c is equal to 0. And it has a real root and an imaginary root, so on and so forth. But suppose we challenge a person, you please define quadratic equation in terms of a shloka which is lyrically beautiful yet mathematically precise. It takes the, what shall I say, the efficacy as well as efficiency in both the sciences, that is mathematics as well as the literature. Now in this particular paper, I will be talking about what is called learning process re-engineering. The word re-engineering usually in management terms it is used whenever there is a particular process, the process 1 and process 2, or there is some sort of a learning, unlearning and relearning. Whenever there is a quantum jump in either learning or unlearning or relearning, then we call it as re-engineering. There is also a process called business process re-engineering. Just to give you an example, you compare yourself to the manual typing in good old days what we had, and we had the word processing or the computer typing. The type of thinking, the broadening of the horizon, and the type of facilities what we have in computer typing, you cannot even imagine in terms of manual typing. This particular change in the process is called what is called re-engineering process. There should be a quantum jump. So similarly, by learning Vedic or ancient Indian mathematics, we are supposed to have or experience the learning process re-engineering. In fact, some of the terminology I have used here is, once we know how to learn, how to learn to unlearn, how to learn to relearn, then we have understood this particular subject. Now, we have raised the concept of knowledge management, which basically involves identification, assimilation, selection, validation, dissemination and application of knowledge towards organizational sustenance and survival. And we have the basic 4 tenets of knowledge management. You know what you know, you know what you don't know, you don't know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know. So these are the basic 4 tenets of knowledge management. We were all discussing about the various dimensions and levels of knowledge in our own ancient Indian literature. Now let us concentrate on this particular mathematics, how exactly we will have this learning process re-engineering. Next slide. I have taken various case studies right from the fundamental level to the school and college level, and also in some of the frontier areas of management, mathematics. Now, basically, what is the criteria for selection of these particular methodologies or the techniques is, one is step size, step length, computation time, elegance, and novelty. So these are the 5 criteria by which we select the ancient Indian mathematical methods and techniques with respect to the convention level. Next. Now, we have 2 kinds of mathematics that are available. One, of course, in the actual Vedas, we just find the enumeration, and we also find even something like 10 to the power of 19 in Taittiriya Samhita, and even in Sandhya Brahmana Samaveda, we find Dvadrishat Sankhyastanana, that is 10 to the power of 32. Even in the celebrated Ramayana, we find Mahaudha, 10 to the power of 62, and it is still an amazing factor, and it is almost an unsolved particular question. When Ravana asked and consulted his minister Shuga in Sarana, Vanara Sainyasya Balavanam Vadatu, he said Saya Eka, Dasha, Shata, Sahasra, Dasasahasra, Laksha, Dasalaksha, Koti, Dasakoti, like that the enumeration goes on in the tens places, and it reaches a huge number called 10 to the power 62, because the present population itself is 800 crores plus or minus. Okay, then how can the Kavi Sainya be 10 to the power 62? Like that, there are quite a lot of questions. Even in Lalita Vistara of Vedic literature, you find 10 to the power 52, and then even in other Jaina cosmological literature, you find a huge number like 10 to the power 456 and 10 to the power minus 520, all these things which are yet to see the light of the day. Now, coming back to this particular subject, it is divided into two sections. One, of course, is the actual Vedas. Second is the contribution made by the celebrated mathematicians like Aryabhata, Brahmagupta, Bhaskaracharya, Narayana Pandita. Then, of course, the articulation who revolutionized the concept of Vedic mathematics. Thanks. Now, basically, here, when we talk about the sutras, you find that Damaru here. That means from the subject you can convert to the sutra, and from again sutra you can expand to the subject. So this is what the particular sutra means, the concept of sutra. It is much more than the formulae in modern mathematics. Next. Next. Yeah. Now let us concentrate on very briefly on these particular factors: knowledge, representation, and identification. How exactly the ancients represented profound knowledge through the mathematics and vice versa. Second is knowledge dissemination and application, that is the three levels: basic, intermediate, and advanced. Then the learning process model, learning process re-engineering, and benefits and advantages of learning EM, and the future scope. Next. So of course this I have already said. Next. Yes. Now here we just see how exactly the mathematics is represented, and how exactly the Agama Shastra has got to do with this mathematics, and innocuous looking particular sloka, how exactly the mathematics can be embedded, and the same thing could also be represented as a pattern recognition we just see. That's a simple, the concept of 8 directions starting in the Pradakshina, that is in the clockwise direction. You have the east, southeast, south, southwest, west, northwest, north, and northeast. So the Adhipatis are in this particular order: Indra, Agni, Yama, Nirati, Varuna, Vayu, Kubera, and Ishana. Now we have a small shloka called Indra Vayu Yamashchaiva Nairito Madhyamastada Ishanasya Kuberasya Agni Varunamevacha. So in that actually we have a small magic square of 3 by 3. You start with the Indra actually, that is in the east. I have just taken a random number. You can, it is satisfied with all the 4 operations of the arithmetic also. Take a number digit like 5. Indra Vayu, come to the corner. Yamashchaiva 7. Then Nairuto 8. Panchama is 9. Ishana is 10. Then Kubera is 11. Then Agni is 12. And finally Varuna is 13. So the pattern exactly is like that. That 2 triangles join base to base and edge to edge. Here also in the slab, you just find the slabs being joined base to base and edge to edge. Okay. Next. Now this particular pattern is so peculiar that even if there was a one single alphabet mistake, they could exactly identify where exactly the mistake is. That is the error detection and correction. And it is as if, entire chapter, if you decode, it, develops into a beautiful sphere. You just imagine a wax globe where triangular glass pieces are embedded on that. And then in that particular pattern, that is edge to edge and base to base. And even if there is one single mistake, the triangles becomes disjointed. So that is the exact place where the error has occurred and the error correction can be done. Next. Same pattern is also found in the Vijay Yantra. So here it's a 9 by 9 matrix and the sub-matrix. So you just find in the 5th column, you start with 1. That is also in the Intervayu pattern itself. And if you take that particular sub-matrix itself, that itself also follows the Indravayu pattern. Next. Then of course you have the large numbers which I already mentioned in the Vedic literature, Vasasani Samhita, in Panchavimsha Brahmana, Maitrayani Samhita, Kataka Samhitas and all those. Next. Next. Next comes the question of Yantra Mantra Bandhas. Of course, usually whenever you talk about Yantra Bandhas or Mantra Bandha, we remember the celebrated Sri Yantra or the Gayatri Yantra or Sudarshana Yantra, like that. There are in Mantra Maharnava and Mantra Mahodari, you find more than about 10,000 such Yantra Bandhas and Mantra Bandhas. For a mathematician, it appears like a simple geometrical figure, but for the Tantric, it might be something of an esoteric value. But once you analyze these particular things, you will just find it exactly is analogous to something like a printed circuit board, where the Yantra Bandha forms a hardware. Once the printed circuit board is impregnated with electricity, similarly when the Yantra Bandha is impregnated with the mantra, it becomes a mantra bandha. So we will have to take a lot of accuracy, so on and so forth. Next. Next. Here of course we have the division of polynomials, which does not exist in the modern mathematics. It is limited to synthetic division, that is only up to 3rd degree. Here you can even divide a polynomial of 15 degree by 8 degree polynomial, and it's very easy, manually it can be done, and the same thing also have computerized. Next. Yeah, as I explained after. Next. Yeah. Here the learning process, it is a triadic process. You have what is called the system, teacher and the student. Now once this particular ancient Indian mathematics is taught, actually it becomes a particular triadic process. So the learning process, re-engineering takes place. Next. Yeah, next. Finally, the benefits and advantages of learning is the VM or AM methods and techniques covering wide area of mathematics have stood the test of time for thousands of years and continue to inspire. These are superior to the conventional or modern methods and techniques in 5 dimensions as mentioned previously, that is step size, step length, computation time, elegance and novelty. These develop the right half of the brain due to their creativity and remove maths phobia. These are very user friendly. Next. The study and analysis of EMAM help in understanding the great repository of ancient Indian scientific knowledge and the synergy between mathematics and other sciences and philosophy. That's what we call it as centrifugal learning and centripetal learning. The VM, are the excellent tools to solve the numerical ability tests of all the competitive exams in the world in a very effective and efficient manner. These are the excellent and promising business projects in the field of education. The sustenance and development of the source of knowledge lies in the promotion of the R&D projects in VM. Lot of researches are being done in developing hardware and software solutions involving these. The progress in this direction can be achieved with a dedicated and professional approach. It would be highly appropriate to conclude with the resonance verse of Mahaviracharya, the great Jaina mathematician of 9th century AD, extolling the inevitability and greatness of mathematics. Laukike Vaidike va apitatha samayike apiva vyaparastatra sarvatra sankhyanam upayujyate bahubir vipralapaihi kim trilokyam sacharachare yatkinchit vastutatsaram ganitena vinanahi ganita asada sangraha. Next. Next. So that's the translation of that, extolling the greatness of mathematics in all the 3 words. Next. Next. Yes, I would like, every function has got Mangalacharan, so I would like to have a Mangalacharan in terms of mathematics. Mathematics edifices philosophy and philosophy beautifies mathematics. Mathematics and philosophy are supplementary and complementary to each other. In the life's equation for excellence, plus add good friends, that's why we are here, minus subtract bad qualities, multiply one's strengths, divide the work, D, differentiate between the right and the wrong, and become an integrated personality. Thank you very much. The Shastras you just find Indramayi, Amashdevi, Nairita. See, actually, right. Actually, what they say is whenever they want to lay this particular foundation, or even in the tantric text also, they just find it. Not only Agam Shastra, in the text also you just find it.
Because the order is different for Tantra and Agama.
Yes.
So it's not intervali and so
exactly.
Specific book.
Yes.
So
yes.
you can share to us or later.
Sure. I'll give you the actual reference. And paper was by Professor Iyengar on Saurateja and its different functions in the 4 Vedas. And he also mentioned that he is also called Mitra, and incidentally he is a Vishamitra, and there is a beautiful relationship between Vishamitra being the Tristara of Gayatri Mantra also, which is also called the Savitra Mantra. And then there are also a lot of things to be done, especially when we talk about the various synonyms and the various characteristics, like for example, Bhanu, Surya, Aditya, Prabhakara, Divakara, Savitra, Bhaskara, Bhushan, Tarani and all those things. In Sanskrit we find each and every particular name. It has got a Vyutpatti and Utpatti, both the things. And it is characterized by that particular, the name itself indicates that particular character even contextually and even grammatically also. For example, we say only Udaka Shanti, we don't say Jala Shanti. Why exactly we say Padodaka, we don't say Pada Jala actually. So like that in almost all the ancient Indian sciences or even in the Puranas or those things, we find the utilization of words exactly according to the particular context. And once we had a paper from the Vyakarna, we can exactly find out what exactly is the contextual meaning of those particular things. And it's also there. And daily, of course, in the morning we say Adideva Namastubhyam, Prasida Mama Bhaskara, Divakara Namastubhyam, Prabhakara Namastude, Saptashara Damarunam, Shvetabhatma Tarantiyam, Tam Suryam Pranamamyam. Okay. Next, of course, we had the geology in ancient Indian literature by G.K. Sheshadri. And he also mentioned about the Maitrayani in Taittiriya Samhitas, which mentioned about the original stones, which is and it indicates it is the stones are formed due to the battle between Indra and Vritrasura. He also mentioned about the Shadamata Brahmana and different kinds of Shiva Saligramas and also Vaishnava Saligramas. Indeed, I had an opportunity to visit one Professor Sharma from Pune, who has a beautiful collection of about 1,000 Saligramas with him. And we could actually see what exactly we mean by Matsya Saligrama, and once a particular Saligrama, almost about 10 kgs of Tulsi was kept, and how exactly it absorbs all the Tulsis actually, it's a simply marvel to watch. And one more thing I would like to say is, all of you must have visited the Pundara Mandapa in Hampe, where exactly the 22 pillars, which are almost about 14 feet in height, and they are supporting a massive slab of 30 feet by 40 feet and 18 inches depth, then you can imagine the tonnage actually. Now, after 6 centuries, the stone pillars, even now, if you tap it actually, exactly you find all the 22 Shrutis. And you know, especially the Chatushruti Raivata and the Kaishiki Nishada to exactly tune it, it's very difficult. And on top of it, in spite of the eccentric bending moments which happen due to the uneven settlement of the soil also, still the same thing is the Shruti is being maintained. The other thing is, people have frequently tapped it and have created a curvature, that means change in the area of the cross section. Still the Shruti is being maintained. So this is a challenge to the modern geologists as well as the civil engineers. Okay? And this paper has got a lot of further scope, how they can be extended. Even the musical pillars you find in the Madurai as well as Suchitra also. And in Madras area, you find Tadavakya Sangeeta exclusively done on this Isai selector, okay, using this diagram. Then the softening of stones, I would like to say a very important thing. If you just observe the outside Dwaraparakas in Halebedu, their hands are broken. So I thought that some vandalism must have taken place, and you find a circular hole actually. So people would have simply drilled a hole in order to fix up this particular broken hand. But as a curious onlooker, I just introduced a string which went beyond the elbow joint, and when I just took a small sample from inside surface, I could find the serrations like casting actually, and at the same time the uniform structure of casting of the stone. That means it gives the positive impetus. That means to say the ancients had a technology to soften the stone and cast the stone actually. All of you can observe that particular two Dwarapalakas where you have a hollow structure up till the shoulder level. Okay. Then the fourth paper was by Dr. Vanitha Ramaswamy, who talked about the yajna as a biosymbol. She straight away said yajna means it is a question of life. We have the Antar yajna as well as Bahir yajna, and we have the various yagas also like Soma yaga, Vajpayee yaga, and then Ashwamedha yaga and all those things. And then each and every yajna, it has got a definite purpose and it has got a definite methodology. Just like in a laboratory, we have a set of experiments and set of procedures, and everything has to be followed in a meticulous fashion. Even the performance of the yajna has to be done in a very, very meticulous fashion, and then only with the Shraddha Bhakti, if it is done, then we get a particular desired result. And as I showed in my slide also, when the Sri Sukta yajna was done, the beautiful formation of the Sri Yantra also manifested. And she also talked about the Panchamaha yajnas and the Agnihotra. There is a group in Harvard, that is in the Agriculture University, who are regularly performing this Agnihotra. They have an Agnihotra group, and you can just log on to their website also, agnihotra.com actually. In Venezuela, this particular Agnihotra is being done even today, and every day the people, they perform the Agnihotra morning and evening, and the growth rate of the crops are something phenomenal. So even I experimented with the Agnihotra and also the Navagraha Vrikshas and all those things, and I have the actual measured parameters. They have given excellent growth. So there is a lot of scope in performing this Agnihotra and other yajnas and all those things. And of course, you know the great Bhopal gas tragedy when this particular Agnihotra was done, and it had a beautiful effect on the atmosphere which prevented the deterioration of the people there. Then the fifth paper was on T.N. Shivkumar and Mind at a Glance in Atharva Veda. Of course, even though he just condensed his paper, I listened to him quite a number of times on the various dimensions of the working of the mind, and he has also done a lot of research with the scientists of NIMHANS. But the most unfortunate thing here is that whatever the questions he posed about few years back or even decades back still remains unsolved because of the non-cooperation by the so-called scientists who don't have the cooperation between the body and mind. That is what it has happened. And we need to move from PMA minus to PMA plus. That means from passive mental attitude to positive mental attitude. Otherwise it will be a permanent mental attitude. Then we had the paper by Professor S. N. Balasubramaniam on thoughts on teaching of Sanskrit. He mentioned the influence of the Sanskrit, the correct articulation, the Shabdocharana, and how exactly if this is taught to the students, then not only the right half of the brain but also left half of the brain, the pronunciation and all these things, they get much precise. That means samskara, because we don't, even though we call it as refinement, the actual word samskara cannot be exactly literally translated. In fact, there was a Vyakarana who was a very short person. Okay, he was a dwarf. So somebody criticized him. What? Your akara is short. He immediately retorted back. You don't know any basics of grammar. How can akara be short? So I am only. So similarly, they have the Bangalore Kannada is very famous now. Ek roti 10 rupees. Vekadre teesko. Vendarna tejichu. So that is what the present Bangalore Kannada has become. It has borrowed all the things and it has mutilated everything. So like that, there are a lot of funnier things and other things whenever one language gets transformed to the other language without the samskara. And the other Ramakrishna Bhatta, he talked about the Vyakarana Adhyayana and its Prayojanam. Then Vyakarana being the Shadanga of the Vedas actually. We will come to know exactly whenever we do the Adhyayana of a particular literature, what is the placement of the words. Second is, why a particular terminology is used at that particular place. And especially when we want to translate technical literature in Sanskrit to the modern literature, the help of Vyakaranas are extremely important because we need to know the contextual meaning as well as the place value of the meaning. Otherwise what happens is the literal translation. For example, the Purusha Sutta, everybody does a false translation. Sahasra Shirsha Purushaha Sahasraksha Sahasrabhat Sabhumim Vishwato Vrutva Adyatishtat Dasanguram. Almost 95% of the translation he says 1000-headed person with 1000 eyes stays at 10 inches there. Why he should stay at 10 inches there? And why not Visahasraksha? That means 1000 heads will have only 1000 Sahasraksha. Why not Visahasraksha? Does it mean to say the God has only one eye? In fact, once it is given a proper meaning, 1000 means Ananta, it is N in mathematics. So once you have the Purushaha Bhavati, once you control the energy in all the 10 directions actually, the Rinatmaka and Dhanatmaka properties, then Purushaha Bhavati. Similarly, Abhatman Purusham Pashum Tam Yajnam Parishi Prokshan. So they tie the Purusha to the Upasamba and then ask him for all the boons and all those things. It is something like you chop off a person and try to ask boon. That is a kind of wrong translation also they have. And many people, they say, especially in the Havyaka, this one I am sorry to say, Kadrudraya. Ayyo, ರುದ್ರನ ಆ ಥರ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ರುದ್ರನ ಕದ್ದು ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಗೋಕರ್ಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಮೊದಲು ಅವನಿಗೆ ತರ್ಪಣ ಬೆಳೆಸ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕದ್ದು ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕದ್ದು ರುದ್ರಾಯ. ಎಂಥ ವಿಪರ್ಯಾಸ. ಸೊ ಎನಿವೆ, of course, I don't like to comment on my paper, but I would like to request one thing is, even though I have been in this particular field for over 2 decades, unless otherwise we group together and then have organizational support, then only the ancient Indian science, whether it is physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology, botany, zoology, whatever it might be, they can come to life and then they can be utilized for the upliftment of the mankind. And last